know. Oh, we're alive. We're here. We did it. I see the little thing. Hello, Berroco makers. It's your friend Margot, and I am so excited that we are starting our February sock hop. And hold on, let me close my thing. I had my browser open to see that it is on. Anyway, I have some special, amazing guests with me. I have Dennis and Wim, and they are fantastic authors of, and maybe you've seen them, of the Happily Knitting Socks and their follow-up, Sock You Too. And they also have a wonderful, I would say, how to knit sock booklet, Punto 34, with our Lang yarns. So hello, guys. Welcome.
Hello. Hi.
Hi.
I'm Margot.
Sorry.
Thanks for having
I know.
us.
See, the group in the Berroco Maker group knows how like excitable I get. So they're probably like, look at Margot.
No problem.
Oh my goodness. So we are, we're so thrilled to have you with us to talk about some socks. But let's just start, like, how did you guys meet? How did these books come about?
Okay.
Let's go first.
Shall I start?
You could start, Dennis.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. I'll start.
Sure.
Well, I'm Dennis. In the Netherlands, I'm also known as Dennis. Mm-hmm. I am a crochet designer, mostly amigurumi designs, and I've published now in total 13 books, which are 9 books are completely amigurumi.
Wow.
And well, Wim was one of my first male testers for all my amigurumi. That was how we ever met. So I think we had for about 4 or 5 years, our only contact was via Messenger for Facebook.
Okay.
And the fun thing is because when I design a pattern and I write the pattern, a lot of people just follow the instructions, and then they say, "Oh, it's correct." And when Wim is testing my patterns, he's everywhere with a
you
red
found
pen.
It.
Yeah, there's a note. There's a note.
That's amazing. He's like, I got something for you.
Yeah. So I was really,
I always say, you can take the teacher out of the school, but you can't take the school out of the teacher.
No, we need you.
So if I'm reading a pattern, I'm correcting the pattern with my red pen. I'm not just correcting the crochet pattern, but I'm also correcting the little spelling errors, and little typos.
That's amazing. I feel like, Dennis, I'm more your speed. I'm more like here's my book. And then my other teammates will be like, we're going to fix this. Okay. I'm like,
yeah. That's Wim.
I can relate.
So that's basically my story. And
we have our team from Berroco saying hi. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hey, everybody.
We are live on Facebook with Dennis and Wim.
Want to see my socks?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Show them.
I know.
Oh, yes.
That's
I
amazing.
just wanted to say how much we really appreciate your designs. We're so thrilled to be able to represent and have your pattern book with Lang yarns here in the U.S. I'm Warren Wheelock. It's my wife, Caroline, and we have Jan Hurwitz, who's our director of sales. So keep up the good work. Just wanted to pass that along.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, Warren. It's nice
Love
to finally
your stuff.
put a face to the name, because I've heard a lot about you, but now I know what you look like.
Yes.
And I know
We
you're
were just-
recording live, so we'll go ahead and go back in our foxhole.
I love this. This is like what happens live stays live. We pivot.
What
No,
goes
but
in
I'm
the
thrilled.
cloud stays in the
And just-
cloud.
Absolutely. And just, for our Berroco makers, they haven't seen, any of you yet as well. So I feel like it's fun for them to see the masterminds behind Berroco yarns. So definitely big wave, Warren, Caroline, Jan. They're the ones. They're the ones who bring us this good stuff. Anyway, that's so great that they popped in.
Very nice.
Okay, awesome. Well, and now back to the show.
Back
So
to
Dennis,
Wim.
you published 13 books. This is amazing.
13 books. Yeah. Three books together with Wim, 1 book together with another crochet designer in the Netherlands, and well, 9 books full of amigurumi.
That's amazing. And I will say we have a lot of good crocheters in the group, so they're probably like, this is amazing. But I love how you transitioned to the sock knitting book. So how did that happen?
Let's give the word to Wim.
Take it away.
Well, a lot of people are blaming me for taking away Dennis from the crocheting. You made him go to the dark side. Yeah. So a lot of people first thought that Dennis was just knitting, only knitting. Now they know that he's still making new crochet books, and they're very happy that he does. I'm very happy that he still does, but I'm also very happy and honored that I can cooperate with him and that we can make those books together. If you're wondering why in the first years we only had some contact through Messenger and online, it's because Dennis lives in the Netherlands and I live in Belgium. So we live, let's make an estimate, 200 kilometers from each other. It's not like we just pop 2-3 hours by car. So it's not that I can say I'll just pop by next week or something. So, but we had very, very good talks and very long conversations online, and we had a click. There was something
I mean, I could see it. This is amazing. I was like, this is like the dream team, like of what's the beauty that comes out with connecting through online communities or the internet.
You should meet us live.
I can't wait. One day.
We're terrible live. Yeah, you'll have to stop us.
They were so boring live. I don't know what happened.
No. You'll have to you'll have to make a sign for this is too much. Stop it.
Okay. Well, see, then I would be terrible with this group. We'd need someone extra because then I would take it over the edge and be like,
okay,
it. But anyway, so you got formally finally met with each other.
Well, the first time we actually met was when I went with one of my little crochet books that I bought, and I went to a meet and greet with my big hero Dennis, and he signed the book for me, and we did a very first hug the first time, and for me it was a good hug.
It's a good hug.
Yeah, it was a good hug. It was a dreamy experience. It was like, I'm meeting my big hero, because I was still this little crochet boy from Belgium, and I wanted to make new stuff, and I wanted to learn how to crochet. And a few years later, we accidentally happened to be on the same event. There was a very weird event, because when I say it's a knitting and crochet cruise, it sounds very tropical with cocktails and a swimming pool, and it was a very modest boat on a river in the Netherlands. There was lovely weather. It was a sunny day, luckily, and we could sit outside on the deck of the boat. But I was there just as a participant, and Dennis was invited as the big Dutch amigurumi guru.
Celebrity.
The amiguru me.
Big
the guru. Yeah.
There's already guru in amigurumi. I just realized that.
I was like, I hear it too. I was like, oh, it's meant to be.
And then Dennis proposed something to me, and I just couldn't say no to that. Dennis had an epiphany. He saw the light. He thought, I want to make a book with that guy.
You have to just imagine, we were on a boat with a lot of sun. I think it's almost 25 degrees in the Netherlands. That's pretty hot in the Netherlands.
Celsius, right? Celsius. Everyone's 25 degrees. They're like, what? Celsius.
But I was talking with the representative of Langyarns.
Okay.
And Wim was sitting across to me in his short pants, and he was crocheting at that time with a lot of tattoos, and I just looked at him, and we talked, but then I was discussing with Langyarns, but look at him and look at me, we should make a book together. Why not? Because
for the record, I was wearing more than just short pants. I was also
you also had it, yeah.
Fine. You were wearing your swim trunks. No,
yeah. So I just said I was really serious, because when I look at Wim and I look at myself, because all my crochet books only have the amigurumi on the front page. So I don't really promote myself on the cover of a book. But when I was looking at Wim and he was sitting there in his short pants and crocheting or knitting, I said, just if Wim and I should be on a cover, would be on a cover of a book, that book would be a success. It doesn't matter what kind
Sold
of
out.
project.
I mean, we're in our second run.
So it doesn't
mean,
matter if we're crocheting or knitting or baking or barbecuing, doesn't matter. We have to be on the cover of a book. So that was my proposal to Wim. From Wim, we should make a book together.
That's
After so many years of just chatting, we just should make a book together.
Can you imagine? I was on a boat with my big idol, nowhere to run because I would have to jump off the side of the boat and swim to shore.
You're like, that sounds
so. My answer was, yeah,
sure.
Of course, let's make a book together. And I thought he was totally kidding and he wasn't being serious at all. Until a few weeks later, Dennis messaged me and said, hey, remember we were going to make a book together. What do you think? And I had recently just learned how to knit socks. Okay. And I was completely fascinated by it. It's very addictive. For those who are watching and who know about the sock knitting, once you start knitting socks, you always knit socks.
Can't
you
stop.
always have a
You
pair
always
of socks.
have a backup socks.
Oh,
yeah,
I agree.
So that was a very small step for us to go like, hey, we both like fun socks. We like bright socks.
Yes.
We both like wearing bright socks. Why shouldn't we just go ahead and make a book about knitting socks? And that's the start of the idea. And yeah, like who wouldn't
I
wear
love the
that?
ice cream socks. And so how long did it take for this book to come together? Like from concept, photography?
I think the first discussions we had was what kind of book should we make? Should we go knit or should we crochet? Because I didn't know how to knit, but I know how to crochet. So for me, the crochet was the easy way out. Let's make a crochet book. But I was really fascinated by, of course, by lanyards. I've known the representative for a very long time now, but we never worked together because for amigurumi you only use cotton yarn or acrylic yarn, and that's not something that lanyards really should represent. They have very good yarn. So I was just thinking, okay, I want to make a book with Wim and I want to use lanyards, and what should that be? And the only real option was knitting. So, but I can't knit. I've never touched a knitting needle in my life then. So I just said to Wim, okay, if we are going to knit, I really want to knit socks because I can't see myself in a knitted scarf or a knitted. So, I was in a knitted hat was just there. It was too easy for me. So no, that's not it. So why not socks? So I asked Wim if you learn if you can teach me how to knit a sock, and if you just write it down, because we have a long distance, just write down how I should knit a sock and just make some pictures of it. And if I can knit a sock, then we have a good foundation, good base for a book. That's
awesome. It's like if we could teach you how to knit a sock, we could teach the world.
Yes, absolutely.
That's the goal. Let's
goal.
teach the entire world how to knit.
I see. And
Socks
knit
perfectly.
socks, which are super important.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Because I have read some knitting patterns, and they all have short abbreviations.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're right.
And it was just like abracadabra to me. I just want to learn how to knit a sock in basic, almost childish way of explaining how to knit a sock. So that was the main goal.
That's nice. And you
Most
absolutely
challenging
do
part
it.
for me. Sorry, the most challenging part for me was that Dennis wanted or agreed on making a sock knitting book. And then it was, how do we get all those fun little patterns in the socks? And I was a very eager sock knitter, but I had never done fair isle knitting in a sock. And fair isle knitting is something else.
It is. We could talk about that.
When you need something to fit, it has to be stretchy, yet it has to be comfy. And if you go try fair isle knitting, it's difficult to get it fitting yet stretchy. So
Right.
that was a big challenge for me and for all the lovely people we addressed to help us knit socks, because to be honest, 2 guys can't knit all the socks that are in one book. That's just impossible.
No, that's a lot of socks. So I'm glad. So you had a lot of sample knitters, and I'm sure feedback from that, because absolutely, I think, you know, stranded knitting, Fair Island knitting, you have to have that like touch in order to not make it like strangulate your feet. I mean, you want some negative ease, right? But not as much as you would. And I love how you kind of really do explain that so well in, you know, all of your Happily Knitting the Sock books about, you know, the different kinds of needles. Exactly. Everything is step by step.
Yeah.
And I know in our group, and the photography is so clear.
Yeah.
It's so good. And I want to give a quick shout out. Dennis, or I don't know which way you're on my camera, did the graphic design for these books. So, you know, major shout out. That is incredible. I know that that's a lot of work in itself, and how I'm just bravo. But yes, the step-by-step instructions. So let's talk about the main event. Let's talk about socks. I love them, right? Like I can't won't stop with socks. At Berroco, you know, we do offer, it's funny, I'm sending them a box of Berroco socks. You know, they actually primarily use Lang Yavel, which I also love. And Lang comes in, I mean, so many different colors. I mean, I think about all the socks that you have designed, and I'm like, how did you pick colors? Because it's so.
Oh yeah, that's Wim's part mostly. I was mostly the difficult challenge for me was to design a Fair Isle pattern that could easily be translated into 72 and cast on, or 68 or 64, or even for the children 48. And it still has to be the same pattern. So that was the big challenge for me. I was just sitting behind my desk and designing the patterns. And when I finished something, I just sent it to Wim, and Wim mainly chose the colors for everything.
Well, the fun thing is when we were picking the colors for the socks, Dennis had an entire box with all the little colors of Lang yarns, and I had one too. And at the moment that he messaged me a design, just a computer image with a Fair Isle pattern, I dove into that box and I went to pick out some colors. I needed an ochre, I needed an off-white, and I needed a light blue. So I picked the colors, and there's like, correct me if I'm wrong, 80, 85 different colors.
Yes.
So we, and time after time, we managed to pull this exactly the same colors.
Oh, that's amazing.
I took some pictures. I sent them to Dennis. Dennis said, I have the exact same colors lying around here. So again, we clicked like that again. But there aren't any dull colors. There aren't any wrong colors. You can make your own combinations. And I mean,
yes,
of course, Lang Yarns told us to use as much colors as
possible. Yes. Only use one color throughout the whole book. Yes.
Yes. Let's make a Fair Isle sock book with only one color.
One color. That's the challenge.
So it's probably not a surprise that, for instance, this lovely sock came to life with all the colors in blue and green that we hadn't used by that time.
Yes, right. You're like, what's left? Throw it in.
Yeah. Let's make a sock with 7 or 9 colors, and let's make it work. And it works.
And it totally works.
It's a very popular sock.
Yeah, and the ball is big enough that you can make more than one sock. Like you can keep going and use up the bits and pieces. I love that sock. That's a great one. That's a beautiful sock. And then, so in making socks, we can talk about, what is your favorite method? Like I'm personally am doing magic loops. So I like using the long circular and, you know, manipulating it. Some of us, I think, are doing double pointed needles, but what about you? What do you like to use? How do you like to do your socks?
Well, for me, it's very easy because I've only knitted socks just on the Adi Crazy Trios or on the Flexi Flips. That was this is my only experience in knitting socks, and I only knit socks from cuff to toe.
Cuff to toe. Same.
That's
I'm
the
a very
only
much.
thing I've learned, and that's the only thing I'm just keep on using.
You're like, I'm sticking with what I know, which is I
that's the
love
best
it.
thing for me.
Yes.
Well, for me, it's any kind is a good kind. I like knitting on double pointed needles. I like the magic loop method. I like knitting on the flexi flip needles. The only way that I don't like to knit socks is on the very short circular needles where the stitches of your sock just fit onto. I don't know
That's
if you
very
know
tough.
which ones I mean, because
I think
they
I
have
do. Where it's like a
they-
6-inch like
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
and they have very, very short needles. So the
Mhm.
cable is there, but the needle part is very, very tiny. And I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm kind of a
Big
big guy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Okay.
you can imagine if I'm on the couch and I'm sitting there with my legs crossed, and then 3 fingers on each hand trying to manipulate these very tiny
Not
needles.
good. Yeah.
It's terrible. It's awful.
Yeah.
So
I will
that's-
agree with you.
Yeah,
That
that's
is
not
not.
my preferred method, but otherwise, I've got some double pointed needles that I'm working with. I've recently started 2 at a time toe up
What?
on my trusted Chaogu.
Oh,
knitting
that's
needles.
nice.
Those are very, very nice, and it's a nice way to avoid the second sock syndrome.
I love
Because,
it. Yeah. I love how Wim just whips out. He's like, oh, by the way, I can also do this. I'm like, I've got my one sock. Me and Dennis are like, we're like one sock top down. And I was like, oh, what?
I need all those different projects, and I need all those different methods to keep me going and to keep me on my toes. And I love experimenting with new methods. And then I go and teach a sock knitting workshop, and there's always 1 or 2 older ladies who are very, very smart and who tell me, have you heard about this or this type of heel? And then I always grab my phone and I just save what they're saying. And then when I get home, I go look it up and I have to try it. And I discover new ways to turn a heel. It's amazing.
Yes, we'll talk about that in a minute, but we have a question from the group, and it was mentioning the blocking sock form, Dennis, that you actually had shown. What are the benefits of that? And is it mostly for block? Oh, you both have it. Why would someone want this thing? That sucks. That's awesome.
There are two main reasons why you want this or any alternative, but a sock blocker is not just, but also for pretty pictures on Instagram. So if you knit your socks and you put them on a sock blocker, it's much more, it's much prettier to display them like this. But also when you are finished knitting, not all your stitches will be the same size. You will have some loose stitches, you will have some tight stitches. And putting your socks or your knitting in a bath just relaxes your knitting. And if you stretch it on a sock blocker and let it dry like this, then all these stitches will get a sort of
lay nicely.
Yes, lay nice and flat, and then you get a sock like this that looks like it's machine knitted, but it's actually hand knitted, and it's so pretty.
Yes,
it's really blocking.
And this is we were talking about this before we came on, like, you know, we want you to wash your socks, but try not to put them in the dryer. Right? We had this funny moment when I put mine in the dryer by accident, and they're okay, but the sock blocker is also, you know, a perfect way to take good care of your socks when you wash them and
actually only have to use it once. The first time you knitted it, then you have to block it and wash it and then block it, and then all the stitches are nicely put together, and then it's good.
And if after 50 wears you want to treat your socks to a little extra bath, you put them in some nice sock wash or some wool wash, and then you put them on your blockers again, make a little party out of it.
Make a party. We'll be like sock blocking night.
Sock block party.
Sock block party. We'll have that. Well, that'll be the end of the month. So our sock hop is the month of February. Maybe like February 28th would be like sock blocking party. Everyone, you guys will come back for that.
Yeah, of course.
Awesome. So in looking at the sock, you know, we actually have, I would say most of our members are very much sock knitters, but I think we can talk about like the heel and what you have done a great job of showing different heels, but talk about like different heels that you like to show or what's your favorites, things like that.
For me, it's just the boomerang heel.
Just the boomerang. Okay. You're like one heel.
One subject. That's easy for me.
That's okay.
But also, I think it's the prettiest heel to show. And when you make a picture of your sock, the boomerang heel looks best.
Yeah.
To me.
It is a pretty heel.
Yeah. So I've never tried any other heel, but for me, it's the boomerang heel, and it's very easy because it looks difficult, but if you just explain it and read it step by step and just follow the instructions, it's one of the easiest ways to knit a heel, I think.
Yeah,
the fun thing about a boomerang heel is that it has a very symmetrical construction. So if you've knit the first half of the heel, then you just knit the second half and you do the opposite of what you did before, and then the heel is finished. And what Dennis mentioned, it's the prettiest heel, we think. It's visually, it's the most pleasing, but it's also the heel that I learned when I learned how to knit socks. So that's why this is my go-to method of knitting heels. We should say that the Dutch are very relentless people, and they have their ways, their own old-fashioned ways. I say that with the most respect that I can. But over here, if I literally translate it, it's called the Dutch heel. Okay. So it's a traditional heel. It's what you guys call the heel flap and gusset heel.
Yes. Yes.
So that's the one that we tried to stay away from because we like the boomerang heel and we love the boomerang heel. We want to promote the boomerang heel. And a few months into our first book, then we got some requests. Why don't you do the other heel? And why don't? So we kind of got pushed into making some different kinds of heels. And I have to say that I learned to appreciate the heel flap and gusset heel. It's a totally different construction. Yes. It makes for a larger instep on a sock, so that's something for people who need an easier way to get in their socks. That's something we can advise them. But yeah, that's and it's not that difficult. It looks difficult, and that's with everything when you don't know how to do it. It's if you know how to do something, it gets easy. So.
But still, if you just want to make a picture for in your beautiful new knitting book, and you want to have a picture of your sock, then the boomerang heel is the way to go. The boomerang heel,
absolutely, and it is absolutely the most like ready to wear looking type of sock, right? It's got the most polish, and our audience wants to hear more about the boomerang heel. How much more can we tell them without sharing exactly how to do it, or what do you want to do, boys? They want to know more. Tell them more.
Buy the book.
Right, buy the book. No.
No, I can show something more without giving away all the secrets. But if you knit a sock cuff down, you start at the cuff, or if you knit toe up, it's exactly the same for the boom. That's the fun part about the boomerang heel. You can knit it both ways. It swings both ways. So half of the heel looks like this. So it's a little trapezoid shape.
It's like short rows, right?
It's a short row heel. So you knit from one side to the other and back, and you turn. But you need to find a way to turn your work without getting large holes at the seams.
That's a big.
And that's a big no-no if you want to make pretty socks. So turning a stitch is something that we explain in our books. And then there are other ways of doing short row heels. But the way we do it is we turn a stitch. So you make one stitch disappear. It's magic. And then that gets a very tight wrap around your knitting needle. So when you later go back and knit into those very tight turned stitches, then you don't get any holes.
Okay, so it's like a tight, your tension really helps with the holes. Because that was another question we did have earlier in the group, you know, and that was with the gusset heel flap, there's always like that corner that has that hole, and like what the solution really is.
There's also this part where you start and finish the heel. There's always a tiny hole, and that's very normal. That's the anatomy of a boomerang heel, because you start knitting a sock in a big spiral, and then all of a sudden you start turning and going back and forth. So it's normal. You create a kind of height, and yeah, that creates a little hole. That's very normal. But if that hole is too big, or you get a giant gap, and you start knitting in the round again, then what I advise people to do is pick up a stitch at the inside of your knitting. Place that little loop, twist it on your knitting needles, and then knit it together with the first stitch on your needles, and then that little hole will completely disappear.
I love that. So let's so you would pick up the stitch, you would twist it on the needle. So not just like having it, you'd actually make it even tighter, and then knit it together with the,
because you don't want to make an increase. You don't want to increase your stitches, but you want to close the hole. And if I often get the question, which strand of yarn should I pick up, and which strand of yarn should I put on the needles? Well, if you pick up a strand and you pull it with your knitting needles and you see the gap closing, then you've got the right strand.
That's the strand.
That's the strand. If you pull on a strand and the hole does nothing, it stays very big, or even gets bigger, don't touch the strand.
It's like the red wire and the green wire. You're like, don't cut the wrong one.
And don't cut your strands, because you'll get even bigger holes in your sock.
Yeah, definitely don't cut the strands. Oh my gosh. And, you know, group out in Facebook, please keep asking questions. We are getting them here in our chat. We love to hear anything you want to ask Den and Wim, and I was going to say
Den and Wimmis.
No problem.
Excuse me.
We'll need to change our name if we ever.
Yes, I was like, when you meet, that'll be the late night. I'll be like, oh, Den and Wimmis are here. Okay. And it's still early for me here. I don't know what's happening, but thank you so much. What's next? Oh, so let's talk about how quickly can you make a sock?
For me, it takes a lot of time.
A lot of time.
That's mostly because I think I've knitted 4 or 5 socks in total. So not pairs, but just in total.
Okay.
So I know how to knit a sock, and I know every tiny detail of it, but mostly I just knit the cuff and start knitting the fair out pattern.
Okay.
Just checking how my design works. And then it goes straight on to Wim. He's going to test it. And when he's almost done, it goes straight on to the testers, and they knit the complete sock. So I normally just don't have the time for all the designing for all my books to just knit a sock for myself.
Yeah, you have a lot going on. Are you going to crochet a sock for yourself?
No,
never. Oh no, why not? You said that so quick.
No, yeah, so because we get a lot of questions, but the crochet stitch is really it's how do you say?
Is it firmer?
It's thick. It's thicker.
Okay, I see what you're
stretchy.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. That's true.
And
fair.
And then the knitting stitch is just easier, more stretchy, very nice to wear. So no, I'm not a big fan of crocheted clothing or sweaters of crocheting. No, just keep it on knitting.
Keep it knitting. Okay, that's okay. And Wim, what about you?
Well, I've calculated a few times, because I get the question a lot too, and I always have the same lame answer ready, because people tend to ask me, how long do you knit before you finish the sock? And then I just answer, just as long time as it takes me to finish the sock. It depends on the size. It depends on how difficult the sock is. If you have to do a fair out pattern just on the leg, or a fair out pattern on the entire sock, that's something else. But Usually for a men's size sock, I do about 7 to 10 hours for one sock. So 14 to 20 hours on a pair.
Yeah,
And we have big feet.
you do. You're big feet. Fair enough. Fair enough. We have a question from the group saying, do your sock blockers come in different sizes?
Yes.
Absolutely. In 4 sizes: in the children size, in teenager size, in size. We have the European sizes, 36 to 41 and 41 to 46. So we call it just the child, teenager, lady, men.
Oh, great. Yeah, I think we're going to get a lot of interest in these sock blockers after
We'll
this,
have to
because that's
discuss
not
it,
something
because
we
they will-
currently carry. But we'll have to talk.
Yeah, we have to talk about it.
We're gonna have to talk about this.
Something
We have
else about
there's 2
the
different types. We have the
Yeah.
type with that Wim shows with the sock humor soccer,
Mhm.
and we have the one with the dead socks.
And the bed
Yes,
socks.
yes, it's very on the
It has
nose.
another-
It's cheeky.
another-
I like it.
Yeah. Actually, the title for our second book, Sock You 2, was ready before we even knew that we were going to make a second book, because we were making the first book, and then I remember messaging Dennis and telling him, if we ever publish a second sock knitting book,
It's gotta be.
we're calling it Sock You 2.
That's amazing. I love it. And I love Sock You 2 has such inventive design. Am I showing the burger and fries,
Yeah,
everybody?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
burger and fries. Oh, wait. Just let me.
I love
grab
it. Do
that.
you have it? You have it? Yes. Oh, there's a pint in there too. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a fast food. Yeah.
That's
Burgers
fantastic.
and beer.
That's fantastic. And bananas. It's amazing. I love the creativity, and I love like the permission. I think that both of these books, in my opinion, like give permission to people to be creative with, with socks, to be
needs.
creative with designs and color.
And
Yeah, we
show
also
me
have
know-
all those. I'm not sure, because I think it's mirrored, because we have a
Oh,
lot of
No,
fun
I think
quotes.
we see it. It says
around
socks. Mhm.
Yeah. And when we just came up with those quotes, Wim just came up with the quote "Sock You 2," and that was a really fun title. So
That is awesome.
Okay, so my favorite sock from the second sock knitting book is
Yes.
this one,
Okay.
called the Mix and Match sock. So I just went and picked out all the lovely colors that I had in the Langyarns Jawol, and then I made some very easy to follow Ferrall patterns, and you can swap them as you like, and you can make your own color combinations, and you can just, it's go crazy. You don't have to do exactly the same thing that I did. Just make it your own and
Yes.
be creative. And it's
Yes.
creative.
almost everybody
copy the
uses
pattern.
the exact same pattern.
I
and the
know.
exact same
I know.
colors.
Yeah.
It's very funny. You put this out there in the world and they're like, I need to
Yep.
get exactly the Lang 83.0379. You're like, okay. Like we experienced that too. And you're like, just break it out, like do the thing. I need my exact color. And I get it. I get it. You see how beautiful it is here. And you're like, I want these socks. But I agree with you. I love that socks give you that it's not a big commitment, right? Like it's a small piece that you can really just get into and make a mistake on and not feel, I'm making this big sweater or whatnot. Like you can rip it out, everybody. Have you ripped out your socks before? You ripped out socks before.
Oh, yeah.
Of course,
Yes.
of course
I
we
think
did.
right. Like kind of that you can rip it out and do it again.
But also,
I-
I love when people take our designs and then knit one of the socks, and just to avoid the second sock syndrome, they knit the second sock slightly different. Maybe change up some colors, or maybe do something different so that it's still interesting to knit. But for instance, you all know the lovely rainbow Jawol twin.
Mhm.
I have been
Oh, is
knitting
that
on
what you're
that.
wearing? Nice, Dennis. As he's wearing them.
Are you wearing them?
Yeah, of course.
Of course.
So I started knitting this toe-up sock, and I'm going to finish the entire ball. So I'm going to make a long cuff.
Oh, awesome.
So I want to knit up all the yarn from that ball. And then when I'm going to make the second one, I'm just starting on the outside of the ball. And
Oh,
I'm going
brilliant.
to just,
Flip
so
it.
when they peek out of my pant legs, I have
You see the
one
two
like
colors.
this and one like that. And they match, but they're different. And that's
I
fine.
love it.
Yeah, I
That's
love it.
awesome. We have like 5 more minutes. Can you believe it? I can't believe it.
Oh my
5
God.
minutes.
Oh,
5
that's too
minutes.
short.
That's too short. We could go all night, everyone. I don't want to do that. It's late in the day there. I know I'm hopped up on caffeine. I still drink coffee in the afternoon. But let's talk. You want to talk about the punto?
Yeah, let's talk just a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Good. Now
Whatever
we
you
have,
wanna talk
we have published 2 sock knitting books, and then Langyarns asked us if we could make a magazine, a punto, just about the basic instructions of how to knit a sock, with some different variations from very easy to a bit more difficult. And we also have very nice QR codes,
Yes.
so that because we didn't have that much space to include all our instructions. Very you can try it now.
I feel like people can try it. Anybody want to try it? Get there. That's amazing. Probably
So,
someone would be like,
every
stop it.
little detail of a sock, of the cuff, the fair isle, the heel, the toe, everything is explained in all those YouTube tutorials that are on the Langyarns website.
And that's so brilliant that you can, start with the book. You have the videos to go along with this. And this is such a great, I'm going to be like, you guys have to get the books. Like, let's be honest. You have to go out
of course,
and
you have to get the
let's
books,
review. Let's review. We have to get Happily Knitting Socks
Yes.
and get 2 for 2, Sock You Too. And they're available at the Berroco retailers. So anywhere that sells Berroco and Langyarns in the United States has these wonderful books. But then this also is a good companion. So if you want to start with this one, you could, but I'm like, let's go for the gold.
Those have the fun patterns.
Yes, this is where I love these to have for your coffee table, for your library. You keep coming back to these for inspiration.
Yeah, and I
for
think
your-
the punto is nice to knit some socks. If you already know how to knit socks, then that's a very good try and do it our way, and you'll have the instructions, you'll have the videos.
Yes.
But if you're a beginner or you want to get into the knitting socks, then the books are a little more informative. We have
Right.
just
Such
that,
good information.
more pictures, more explaining how to do something, how I cast on socks, how we knit the boomerang heel, how we cast off. That's
The coffee bean one. That's what I should have. I should be making the coffee one right now.
yeah.
I'm like, coffee.
At the moment.
I like the
The dinosaurs. That's amazing.
yeah,
And that's such a fun knit. It's amazing. You have to keep your focus on it constantly,
Yes.
but that's what makes it fun to do,
Yes.
because you have the little dinosaur figurines, and then all the stitches in between are just one dark, one light, one dark, one light, one dark, one
That's
light,
amazing.
one dark,
I
one
love
light. And then you get to another pattern, and then it's
I love
amazing
it.
to-
I need to make the dinosaur socks. And I also love the Monstera. I'm a big plant lady.
Oh, the Monstera, yeah.
A Monstera. You have the Monstera out? This one.
I'm not sure. Stress.
I know, make you dig. But is it 126? I could probably get it out of the book too. I personally love that one.
So many
And I
socks.
think
Oh,
that's
here.
every time we open it. Oh, there it is. I
Yeah.
love it. Making it. Just to mention again for everyone who's watching, you can get the books at Berroco retailers. If you don't know where your closest retailer is, we have on our website a store locator. So just pop in your zip code and it'll tell you where you can pre-order. One of the books is currently out of stock, but I believe you can pre-order that as well. We're just so excited. Any other last, I don't even know what, a song. I'm just kidding.
I hope we can visit America soon.
I hope so too. I really do. I think it'll be a lot of fun. I, for one, would be thrilled to meet you. We could show off all of our socks. that we've made. You have to make one more though, Dennis. Just, get to 6.
Yeah, no problem. I'm working on it.
Let's get to 6. You got this. You got this.
Yeah, no problem.
I love it. Thank you for joining us today. I know everybody is probably super excited about starting their socks. We will absolutely be talking a lot more about their wonderful books, and maybe we'll get them back on again towards the end of I don't know, whenever, someday,
Whenever.
maybe. Come back to me. Just kidding. But thank you so much, makers, and we hope you have a great rest of your day. Dennis, Wim, thank you so much for joining us with our
you for
Berroco
having us.
makers. And I don't know, I'm like about to cast on about 10 different socks now. And maybe you're inspiring me to do toe up, but I'm like, oh my God, 2 at a time. Woo, 2 at
Yeah, well,
once.
don't be afraid of it. Just try it. And if you don't like it, rip it out, start over
That's
again.
true. That's true. This is sticks and
Twice the
string. We
fun.
got this. It's supposed to be
Yeah,
fun.
we can
Awesome.
do
Well,
it.
thank you, everybody.
Thank you for having
Bye.
us.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.